So a lot of students come to me feeling like they've got a gap in their knowledge of how to just sit down and beautifully play a song. So if you just opened up a book, a real book for example, and just opened up the chart to a jazz standard or some other type of tune, could you just sit down and beautifully play that song, have voicings, etc., that sounded really nice and professional? Do you feel like that gap in your playing is closed up and complete? Well, if not, today's video is for you. I'm going to show you 5 levels of jazz harmony that you can actually use to learn sequentially each of those levels to add to any tune. So if you open up any type of chord chart or lead sheet, this video, you can actually go level by level and increase the actual level of your harmony as you do it. This is going to help you close those gaps in the foundations of your playing. So let's get right into it. I want to use the tune The Days of Wine and Roses. This is one of my old favorites, and I'm going to show you how we would actually go about this. So when you first open up a song, let's say it's a lead sheet, you get a melody and you get the chords, right? So in this case we have F major to E flat dominant to A minor to D7, G minor, etc., etc. We're going to go through this piece by piece. All right, so let's start with level 1. Level 1 is really simple when it comes to jazz harmony. It's something called an open voicing. Now, if you already know what that is, I would still keep watching because I'm going to show you a couple tricks, and we also just want to make sure that you don't have any gaps in this knowledge. So basic foundational stuff here. Let's look at the first chord of the tune, F major 7. In a closed root position voicing. That's just 1, 3, 5, major 7, right? If we just play the simple closed root position version of this chord. An open voicing is just this. We're going to take the 2 middle notes, the 3 and the 5, and we're going to put those in the right hand. So now it becomes 1, 7, 3, 5. Okay, so that's a really simple formula. 1, 7, 3, 5. We're going to reuse that formula, so pay attention to that. Here's the beautiful thing. If we had, let's say, an F minor 7, we could use the same formula, except because it's a minor 7, we now do 1, flat 7, flat 3, 5. For anyone who doesn't know this already, we're basing all of these numbers off the major scale. So here's an F major scale. If we were going to have a minor chord, then we would flat the 3 and flat the 7. And now we have an F minor scale, the jazz minor, which is most frequently Dorian. And that's how we get an F minor 7 chord. So the open voicing version again would be 1, flat 7. We take the 2 middle notes out, put them on top. We have flat 3 and 5. So let's go back to the actual song here. So F major 7, 1, 7, 3, 5. And then our next chord is E flat 7. So we have 1, flat 7, but major 3, 5. Because that's how we build a dominant 7 chord. 1, 3, 5, flat 7. And then we have A minor, so that's going to be 1, flat 7, flat 3. And then D7 is 1, flat 7, 3, 5. So this is just using level 1 jazz harmony, basic open voicings. So one little trick we can do here to create better voice leading and have better movement of harmony, meaning that our hands don't have to jump like this all the time. Instead, they stay in a closer position, is we can actually just do the following. Check this out. So whenever we have a 2-5-1, in this case we have A minor to D7 to G. That's a 2-5-1 because in the key of G, A would be 2, D would be 5, and G would be 1. So A minor, D7, G, or G minor. Either way, 2-5-1. So instead of doing this jump, what we can do is simply move our thumb down a half step. And now, if we say this is a D7, so we're just going to name this D7. So we're going to do A minor to D7. The way this works is now we have 5, 3, flat 7, 9. So it's a D9 actually. So we do A minor 7, D9, G minor 7. So this process is really simple. You open up any song and you just do the 1, 7, 3, 5 chord voicing throughout the entire song. It works for every single chord. And whenever you see a 2-5 or a 2-5-1, you can do the little left thumb down a half step trick. So let's just take a look at how that looks throughout this whole song. and I'll add the melody in the right hand. Notice we're ignoring the extensions for now. We'll get to extensions later. For this B flat minor, I'm doing a B flat minor major 7 sound because the melody note is literally a major 7, an A. And actually, I'm going to use the 6, 1, 6, flat 3, 5, just because I think that produces a really nice sound there. So that's just another little level 1 trick you can use if you have a minor major 7 and you're using this voicing structure. Do our little thumb trick. Now here, same thing. 1, flat 7, flat 3, flat 5 for the E half diminish. So we can do that, or we could do our trick. I'm going to move a little quicker here. Can also do that on these minor 2 5s. Notice how sometimes I'll stretch or roll. Now here I'm actually doing 1, 6, 3, 5 because we have an F6 at the end. And that is our level 1 harmony for the Days of Wine and Roses. Again, you can use that shape 1, 7, 3, 5 for any song you want. And I actually recommend you try opening up a song a day, or maybe one song every few days, and work on the same song for a few days and just work on that basic level 1 open voicing harmony. All right, I'm going to move a little faster here now that we've got that foundational level done. For level 2, we are basically just going to start adding in extensions. So extensions are just going to be those buttery notes that go above the 7 of a chord. So I'm going to keep it simple for the F. But now, instead of doing 1, flat 7, 3, 5, I'm going to make it a 13. So we have 1, flat 7, 3, 13. How would we build this in root position? Well, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, 9, optional sharp 11, and then 13 on top. That is an E flat 13 chord. So this is just a slightly more sophisticated version of our original root position voicing. Instead of the 5, we put that 13 sound. Sounds really nice, right? So for this A minor, if you can stretch it, we could also add the 9. That B on top. So now what I'm doing is 1, 3, flat 7, flat 9, flat 5, and the melody on top. This is another really beautiful, slightly more sophisticated jazz sound, the flat 9, flat 5, dominant 7 chord. All right, let's keep going. So here I'm going to do the E flat 13 again. So this is really pretty chord. In the left hand I'm doing 1, flat 3. It's a big stretch if you can reach it. But it's still fairly simple, right? It's still coming from our basic shape. Instead I'm putting 1, flat 3 so that I can reach up here. And we're actually adding the 11, which is the melody note really on top. And we have the 9. So just a pretty alternate voicing you can use here. So check this one out. Still super similar to our just normal open voicing, but instead of the 5, I'm replacing it with this sharp 11. You can resolve if you want. And here we're doing 1 flat 7, flat 9, and 3, 13. So that's a melody there. Let's bring the thumb down. And now B flat 13, that same voicing. All right, so that was level 2. We just added in extensions, made it a little more interesting. Here and there, you can also throw in a slightly different voicing if you're starting to get comfortable rearranging the notes and trying out a different chord. Also, by the way, if you actually want to learn some really pretty voicings to just go in and throw in here, well, I have something called the Modern Piano Voicings Dictionary. It's got around 400 different voicing options in it. You could literally just be like, I want a G minor 7. Go into the voicing book and you can now find a bunch of different beautiful voicings to use in different positions on the piano, also with different extensions. So it's a wonderful way to just never be at a loss for a more beautiful voicing to throw into a song. If you're interested, link is in the description. All right, let's keep going. All right, so for level 3, one obvious thing you can do is just get a little bit more sophisticated with your voicings. So I'm going to be a little bit less stuck to the basic open voicing structure, and I'll show you a couple more other shapes, but it's really still simple concepts. The more important part of level 3 is now we're going to start adding in passing chords. So passing chords are basically going to be chords in between the chords that are actually written on the page. We have opportunities to do this when we have melody notes being played, but no more chords written in the time. I'll show you what I mean. So here's a different shape right off the bat. 1, 5, 3, 7. See how simple it is? It's actually just a different arrangement of this open voicing. Now instead we're just doing 1, 5, 3, 7. Okay, so here's an opportunity to add in a passing chord. So our melody here is, so we're really just going from the D7 right to the G7. But here what we can do is a very simple tritone substitution. So the note a tritone away from D is A flat. Now why does this work? Because when you have dominant chords, the dominant chord a tritone away shares the same 3 and 7. Notice the 3 of A flat is C, and the 7 of D is C, right? The flat 7 there. And the 3 of D is F sharp, and here in A flat we have G flat, the enharmonic equivalent, right? So we can use a tritone substitution. So instead of just, we can do D7 to A flat 7, and here technically what we are playing is an A flat 13 with a flat 9 because of the melody note on top. Right? That's really pretty, and we can even add some stuff in here if you want. So all I did was take some space on this G minor and just added some filler in there. Now from this B flat minor, I'm just going to do the dominant chord a half step above E flat, just for a little bit more chordal motion and passing chord. So in this case, I'm just taking the dominant chord a half step above. You could also do chords a half step below as well, and those are really nice passing chords. Now in this case, the chord a half step above the E flat 7, I'm doing E13 because the melody note is a 13. If I wanted to do the chord below, I would need to do D major because we have this major 7. So notice how if I do dominant it sounds weird. So we could actually do this 1, 5, 3, 7. See how nice that is? So that's approaching from a half step below. And that's from above. Just adding in a passing chord that works with the melody note, and the bass note is either a half step above or below where we are headed. Okay, so now once we get to this A minor, we have this melody, it's just diatonic. Very, very scalar almost. Look at that, literally. All from the A minor scale, or C major scale, or D minor scale. So what we can actually do here is a little type of voicing that moves diatonically on the scale and fills up the space. So we could do so easy, and this example is perfect because it's literally just white notes, right? Moving that C major scale or D Dorian scale. And this chord is just a little 1, 5, flat 7, flat 3, A minor. And we're just going to move up the scale. So simple, right? Beautiful passing chord system. If you want to get a little bit deeper, you could make every other chord diminished, and that's called drop to diminished voicings coming from the Barry Harris techniques. I actually have all of those exercises available completely free in my free resources library, neojazzacademy.com/free, or just click the link in the description to access that. But that would sound more like this. Diminished voicing. Diminished. Just adds a little bit more sophistication there in those diatonic movements by having every other voicing be a diminished chord. And again, if you want to actually practice the scalar exercise for that, that is all written out in resources in the free resource library below, completely free. Click the link in the description. All right, let's move a little quicker here. So there's a nice movement. Going to jump a tritone to the dominant chord a half step above where we're going, which is C. And then here I'm resolving to C9, and then the 9 is going to move down to the flat 9. So we create all this nice motion. So here I'm adding the C in here on top. So we have 1, flat 7, 3, 13, 9, sharp 11. Very pretty voicing. And there we have it, adding in some passing chords with diatonic voicings, or also going a half step above or below. All right, we are finally to level 4. So in level 4, we start adding more rhythm and inner rhythms to the chords. So we're gonna actually have some melodies working inside what we do. So instead of just blocky playing chords, in level 3, we added some more motion by adding passing chords, which is really, really nice. Now in level 4, we're gonna actually add some inner motion. So I'm literally just playing a little inner melody. You can mess around with this. And what I'm doing here is honestly being very improvisational. I'm just coming up with these melodies by moving my fingers and seeing what I hear. And this is a really fun way to practice. Just take the voicings you already know and move around the inner notes. So this brings us to that 3-hand piano technique. This is really, really important. Top pinky and maybe the top couple fingers are the melody players. The bottom pinky in the left hand is the bass player, and then these in the middle are your harmony. So now instead of being solid stagnant harmony, this is going to be harmony that moves around rhythmically. A lot of just arpeggiating up. Instead of playing the chord all together, I'm actually just going, and then maybe moving some down. You can also add some melodies on top, like what I just did there. So adding in motion, playing with motion, is much easier than it seems, but only once you already feel more comfortable with the voicings. So that's why this is all the way at level 4. You got to get your voicings and motion level 1 through 3 feeling pretty solid before you start adding in those inner rhythms and inner melodies. All right, let's finish off here with level 5, and this is when we start to actually really depart from the original harmony and we start to reharmonize, right? So instead of just passing chords a half step above or below, we might actually borrow from completely different keys and just get a little bit more complicated here. So instead of just using passing chords in very specific diatonic moments, we might actually borrow from other keys and get into the art of reharmonization. Now, if you want to dive super deep into this, I have other videos on reharmonization. I will make sure to post a card link up there, and also if you just search my name in Reharmonization, you'll get lots of videos as well. But what we're actually going to do is potentially focus on, let's say, the bass motion and creating a pretty melodic bass line that doesn't necessarily just adhere to the roots written on the page, and then coming up with chords from other keys that work with the melody notes as well. So let's take a look. We'll stick with F major to start, of course. So that was really nice. I like that. It was a simple reharmonization, F major, and then I went to this A altered sound, and then we went to B flat major, to A minor, to D7. So we got this really pretty little movement that still got us to our 2-5. You know what, I think I maybe don't want to land on the G minor actually. I'm going back to the B flat major here. So we want the bass line down here. So as I'm mixing levels 4 and 5 in, you get a really beautiful sound where the harmony becomes a little bit more unpredictable. We're using the bass line and the melody to determine how we're going to reharmonize things, but then I'm also sometimes letting the inner melodies lead me into new ideas. And so that's why going in this level 1 through 5 system is actually a great way to learn a tune. And that's why actually I'm a huge proponent of really mastering one song super diligently, levels 1 all the way through 5, as opposed to just every single day doing a new tune, but never taking a single moment to master one song levels 1 through 5. I don't think that you necessarily need to master level 1 on every single tune before you move to level 5. I think you can actually simultaneously take one song, master levels 1 through 5 on that song, and then also every day to practice, for example, level 1, open voicings, practice it on a different tune. And then as you get more advanced, practice level 2 every day on a different tune. So it's almost two different skills. One is opening up a new tune and working on that. And then the other skill is taking one song for an extended period of time. And I think that both are really, really beneficial, and you can do both at the same time. And actually, if you do want to get deeper into reharmonization, I do have an awesome video course all about reharmonization techniques. Link to that is also in the description. All right, let's finish off the reharmonized version of the song. And I'm really just doing this off the cuff. So you can also take your time with reharmonization, write out your reharmonization in an arrangement beforehand, but I'm actually doing this off the cuff, just using reharm techniques that I know. So let's take it from the final 2 lines of the song. And at the end, that was just a really pretty delayed resolution, I like to call it. Just a common way you can end a song. I'm actually enclosing the final bass note with the notes around it. So instead of playing F, I'm doing G flat major to E, and then finally we hit the F. And there you have it. That is jazz harmony levels 1 through 5. And the reason I even do those levels 1 through 5 is because I think that's a really good order in which to apply these skills one level at a time. So whether you want to think of it as the classic YouTube levels 1 through 5, or just think of it as a system of 5 different steps you can take that build on each other, I think you can really use these levels to actually work on mastering a song. Now, if you found that tutorial helpful, please be sure to click the like button. It really helps me out. And also, if you're new here, be sure to click subscribe if you enjoyed this video. With that said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.